All right, good morning. So basically, I've been thinking about a lot of different things and listening to and reading up on a bunch of different stuff. And I'm having trouble picking what to talk about each day at this point. But I think we're going to go back to sort of some topics around the idea of sort of the technological lead up to the Singularity still, and what kind of changes that we could potentially be seeing coming down the pipeline here. So one idea that I've touched on before is the idea that like people can become superheroes basically. And what I mean, I don't mean necessarily like in the sense that the way comic book characters are, where they're, out there fighting bad guys or, running some plot line, but rather that the abilities of humans will appear to be superhuman, thanks to advancements in technology, right? So this falls into two categories, right? There's sort of like improvements in your mental abilities, right, in intelligence, and then improvement in your thinking, in your physical abilities, right? So, what you can do with your body, right? And I think it's quite interesting to see those. So, in fact, maybe I'll add a third one, and maybe we can split up the physical ones into stuff that you can physically do with your body in terms of like, running faster, jumping higher, things like that, and then things that have to do with your senses, right? So like having, super vision or super hearing, or if you dare, super smell. Though having an on-off switch on the old nose there might not be a bad idea, and that in itself could be a little bit of a superpower, couldn't it? So I think this is a really interesting idea still, because we're already there. We're already like taking the first steps there, let's say, right? So let's take, for example, like physical ability, right? The first guy to figure out that if you took a big heavy rock and you lifted it up and down a bunch of times, and your muscles would get bigger and you get stronger, and then decided to like eat a lot of protein or something, that would have made him stronger than the other guy. And then obviously the other way that this has happened sort of naturally over time is through genetics, right? As people would sort of pair up, people with stronger genetics would match up with other people with strong genetics, and their kids would have strong genetics, and so on and so forth, right? And so that's why you have, people who are natural athletes, and you have others who are less so, right? Now, with I think it was in the 1930s or 20s, or I can't remember exactly when they synthesized testosterone, but this is like what led to like professional bodybuilding. So I'm sure you guys have seen like pictures of professional bodybuilders who are like these just super enormous, incredibly muscular guys, right? Like who are very, very strong, obviously, right? And and it's not to say like that is in fact, and it's kind of funny still, because if you go to like a strongest man competition, they actually don't really look like those bodybuilders. They're usually actually quite fat. Like they'll have big bellies, right? They'll still have huge muscles, but it's not, the bodybuilders are going for aesthetic, not only strength, right? Obviously they could still lift enormous amounts of weight. That is basically unnatural, let's say, right? But the actual like strongest men in the world still, like, they're like big belly guys, for the most part. But anyway, still, like, so basically a lot of that stuff happens with enhancement, like performance enhancing drugs, right? And I mean, like, you could look at stuff like the Olympics and professional sports where they ban the use of performance enhancing drugs, literally because it gives you an edge, right? Like it gives you an unfair advantage, right? So let's like take that idea and like extrapolate that into the future. Let's say that that could go even further, where let's say like the negative side effects are mitigated, so that there's not any particular like health risk involved, which currently there's an array of health risks that are involved with these things. And then what are other things here? So oh yeah, and then we can look at also non-biological physical improvements, right? So not only just like, taking some drugs to make your muscles stronger or bigger or faster or, more endurant or whatever, but actually like outright replacing parts of your body with non-biological contraptions of various kinds, right? Whether, you go to an extreme where you cut off your arm and replace it with a robot arm, or, perhaps like you have some internal organs replaced with synthetic ones, parts of your nervous system, parts of your cardiovascular system could be replaced or enhanced through like mechanical means almost still, right? Like obviously I mean that in a far more sophisticated way than like gears and stuff, right? Thinking more like nanoscale type of developments. So I mean that could lead to all kinds of really interesting sort of physical abilities, right? Beyond just, again, like running faster, jumping higher, things like that, like limbs that could elongate, for example, right? Can't reach the top shelf, well, not anymore. Yeah, I mean, it could get crazy, really. Your imagination is the only limit at this point still. So, just overcoming any of the restrictions and limitations of the physical body, in its various capacities. And then, so then moving on to like the sort of senses, right? Like, being able to have like zoom lenses inside of your eyes, for example, right? Like, or having like thermal vision or night vision, or I don't know if like X-ray vision is a thing, but theoretically maybe. Like, I mean, I remember in comic books back in the day, like they would have advertisements for X-ray glasses where you could like see under girls' clothes and stuff, but I never actually ordered those. Apparently they were fake. I digress. So yeah, I mean, like, being able to hear, so like hear selectively would be cool. Like it's like kind of the same way you have like noise canceling headphones. You can turn your ears, like make them be noise canceling, but then also like have them be like directionally pointed towards like the person you're having a conversation with, so it blocks out all the other noise, or again, like being able to hear something from really far away. Stuff, or hearing different frequencies, right? So like, dogs can hear stuff that humans can't, because the range of frequency of the human ear is like from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz or something, right? And then obviously some of that gets knocked off with age and with sort of damage to your ears over time. So imagine like extending sort of the sonic range of frequencies that you could hear still. So yeah, I mean, like that, just the just even the audiovisual improvements could really let you experience reality in a completely different way if you think about it. I mean, that could be to the point where you are seeing and hearing things that humans have never been able to do before, which could be really quite interesting. A very interesting experience. Okay, so then. So let's say you've got this new upgraded body, right? You have these super senses, and you've got super strength and endurance, and your body like self heals and stuff because you've got nanobots that are crawling around in there, and you're getting all this like real time feedback going into your central sort of nervous system, right? And now, okay, well actually no, this is where we need to start talking about upgrades again. So. And again, we've already kind of started with this from a biochemical perspective, in terms of there's a branch of like medicine and supplements called nootropics, which are like cognitive enhancers. So it's basically like steroids for your brain, more or less still. And these are effective to varying degrees for varying purposes. But imagine that this really starts to take off, right? Like, I mean, we've already seen all different kinds of therapy where we can see like enhanced brain plasticity, where, you know, it becomes easier to develop neural pathways. That means it's easier for somebody to learn a new skill and retain that, you know, or be just staying alert for longer periods of time. Memory retention and alertness are sort of like the main ones here. But again, like if you have all of these increases in ability in your body, especially the sensory ones, then it stands to reason that you'll also need to have some improvements in your cognitive processing ability, right? So I mean, there's various ways to do this. There's obviously continuing along the biochemistry route, where, you know, you continue to develop new and more efficient types of medicines and supplements that will improve sort of improve upon your existing brain, I guess, and your existing nervous system. And then there's the sort of synthetic route where, you know, we would be adding non-biological pieces into the mix, right? So like a more extreme example of this would be something like a Neuralink, where you're, you know, having an invasive brain-computer interface that allows you to interact with a computer, basically, right? Now this is currently like output only, right? But at some point we're going to have that to be an input-output system, and that's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, where, you know, the I know kung fu moment still, right? Well, that's done. That's in the pipeline. You know, let's just say that. I mean, right now you already, like, with all of the studies that have been done, you could take everything that's available now and learn a new skill pretty quick, right? We figured out sort of like all of these different sort of methods of learning, and understanding like how to structure sort of learning courses in order to speed up that process. I mean, I'll give you an example. So in the military, they have people who learn languages, basically, right? So they go to this like special army language school, and they go through this like super intensive course on how to learn languages, and like, yeah, they just pump out people who are like fluent in dialects, at a very very efficient manner. So yeah, imagine that, but like even faster. Then I mean, like just adding things that did not exist before still, right? Like imagine all of the stuff that's in your phone, basically, like just like connected into your brain, more or less, right? So you could have like GPS and 4G and, you know, cameras and microphones all connected, so you could be like live streaming what you see, more or less, right? Or overlaying sort of video or images or interfaces directly across your retina, things like that. And then obviously like just being able to think much faster, right? And to process much more data, much more rapidly. If you're connecting that BCI as an input-output system into like an artificial superintelligence, that basically makes you super intelligent as well, right? To the point where we have the bandwidth and the processing capacity sort of to be able to actually interact with that still. So that's where sort of like the upgrades need to happen on that end, right? So I mean, once you get all this, like, I think people will still sort of like have their own kind of individual objectives with how they would want to improve themselves. Like some people are really interested to improve themselves for the purposes of like, sports or athleticism, and usually within, a few domains in that area, right? Some people would be more interested in improving themselves intellectually, right? And being able to learn things and, develop new knowledge and understanding of things. Some people would want sort of like those mental faculties to have, to make use of those abilities, right? Like maybe you have a guy who likes hunting, for example, right? And, you could just be an amazing hunter with these upgrades and stuff like that. Or, I mean, like, really, again, the sky's the limit here. You let your imagination run wild with it for a bit, and you can see, how it's really not too far off from some of the stuff that we've seen in comic books. Like some of the comic book stuff I don't think we'll see. Like I don't know if we're ever gonna see a guy shoot lasers out of his eyes, for example, unless like it's a crypto profile pic on Twitter. And like some of the more like beastly kind of like type of characters, I don't know if anybody really wants to turn themselves into some kind of monster like that still, though. Again, back to professional bodybuilders, in a sense they are kind of turning themselves into monsters in a way. But yeah, like it's gonna be a wild ride. So yeah, let's cut that off for today, and we'll see you in the next one.